Hi, I'm Carol and thank you for stopping by my channel to see my weekly cross-stitching updates. I am 3 weeks into my proclaimed Mirabilia March and I surprisingly have managed to, this week was Mirabilia only, like legit. I didn't even have any time stitching in the car. The weather has been fantastic. So normally when I say I stitch in the car after church, it's because I'm huddling against the cold. The weather has been fantastic. I love springtime. It is one of my favorite times of the year. There's something about the increased light, the warm temperatures during the day, but it still gets cool enough at night that I don't, basically the heat kicks on once a day and just to get the house up to temperature, and that's about it. It is perfection. Absolute perfection. We'll ignore all the pollen. My allergies are absolutely miserable, but you know, beggars can't be choosers. Sometimes this is just how life goes. But in the meantime, I had one new start this week. I had one impulse project that is not actually cross-stitching, so I don't count it as going against Mirabilia March. And some plans for this week. So we'll just start with the cross-stitching progress. I'm going to go in reverse order. I'm going to start with my new start to, I guess, reverse chronological. Anyway, so my very first project for the week is Mirabilia's Royal Holiday, and this is, in parentheses below it says she's a Christmas queen, so this is a chart from 2004, and I initially was not planning on stitching this. I say initially, I mean like years ago when it had come out. I wasn't necessarily sure because I was like, oh, 4 seasonal queens, I don't need more. Well, obviously I've over time realized that I love all Mirabilia projects far, far too much to not do it. So I decided to kitted her up, decided to start her, and that's what 250 stitches gets you. It's not a lot. We're actually, dead center of the chart is right about here. So a little bit of the satin of her dress is what we're seeing right now. And this is probably 6 or 7 different colors already. Like, it's just the reason I bring that up is it was interesting to me how much progress. Basically what I did is one length of each of the colors, and that's how I could say it's roughly 250 stitches. But this one is really pretty. My daughter is finally, I haven't told anyone in my family what I'm doing. Normally they think of me as a single project at a time stitcher. My daughter finally is like, Mom, are you starting all of your projects? Because she likes to go through my patterns so she knows how many cross-stitch patterns I have. And so I was like, yeah, I'm totally just kind of starting them all. And she's like, oh, okay, cool. She thought this was funny because she originally mistook it for the Winter Queen, and she's like, looks more Christmas to me than winter. And I was like, flip it over, and she's like, oh, it's a holiday one. I'm like, yeah. So my prior week's start was Winter Queen, and here's where she was last time. And here's how she's looking today. I think she got a little bit of work done on her first thing this morning. And she's still one-handed, small enough. So thus far, this is literally 3 colors and 2 blends of those 3 colors. That's why I wanted to share like how much you can get in just a little bit of colors. Again, this one also has a very satiny texture with the shininess. She's seated, so I forgot to show the pattern. Of course I did. So working right in this section right here underneath her elbow, and this is the point of her arm, so a little bit kind of the idea of the sleeve. What I'm doing is trying to stick with these blues as far up as possible. And then I'm going to run into, there's already through here, I start seeing a lot of beading, and I do beading at the end. So I'm just going to track up here. I'm trying to get to the top, so once I get to the skin, I'm going to just do all of the skin and all of her hair, and then start working back down. Also, part of the problem is she's right through here, holding a cloak. When I kitted this up, they must not have had it at the store the day I bought. So there's supposed to be 2 skeins worth of DMC 762. Which is a very light gray. I think it's like very light pearl gray, whatever it is. Anyway, I really need it for like right through here. I don't have any. So I just haven't made the effort to go buy it yet. So that's I'm like, well, I'm gonna stick with the blues. It's really cool, I guess, to see both such a limited palette. Again, like I said, it's 3 colors, so it's white, 341, and 793, and then a blend of white, and the 341 is the lighter blend. You'll see it up here. And then the 341 and the 793 kind of provides a bridge between our medium blue and our darker blue right here. I don't have a lot of it in here, so I can't actually point it because I can't tell the difference that well. But I just like seeing how much you can do with such a limited amount of colors. I guess it's just, for me, it's a very interesting contrast to working in like the full coverage pieces. So I've been kind of thinking of doing a new full coverage start for my birthday later in the year. And how many colors to get used to get the same, I don't want to say the same effect because it's really not. It's a much more pixelated, trying to use a lot of colors to give you a wider range. But it's just, like I said, it's very interesting to me how much can be accomplished and get, I guess, in the end, the same effect. Because what I love stitching are dresses, and one of the ones I'm looking at, it's the painter. It's from the Victorian, well, late Victorian era. It's silks and satin style painting, and there are holes. It's very, very shiny. So again, trying to get this, but you know that there is way more than 5 colors. I don't know, haven't bought it yet, haven't decided. I probably should stitch what I have first, but you know, all of it's good. And my next piece is Stargazer. And for this one, I had finally just kind of set a goal. Last week had been she was a frustrating project for me. So once I got to close enough to my goal, I actually didn't go all the way. My intent was to get all of the hair ribbons and her hair done. I was like, you know, I'm at a great spot. So I didn't actually get quite that far, but here's where she is last time. And here she is today. Give her more of her head. So I got all the back stitching done around her skin, so she has hands that are doing something. I think that's supposed to be a thumb. Her thumb bends a kind of odd direction. It's something that is, I've been working in the project, I've kind of noticed. Anyway, I love her hair, her fit. It's all so cool. And I had, like I said, gotten started with the hair ribbons. I really did want to finish it, but realized that it was time to just change projects. I've been trying to be more understanding of myself. Like, if I'm just tired of a palette, I'm tired of when projects get frustrating, don't try to force the issue. I had a little more frogging in this one. Yes. Like, I don't want to, for a hot minute, I was actually convinced, like, is there something cursed about this project? Why do I not want to pick her up? So when I actually got to the part where got her back stitched, and I was like, oh, I love you. When at the moment that I was like, I love this project, it was time to set her down. She'll come back out this week, but it's okay. Having to accept that sometimes it's just not what I'm feeling in a given moment, and that's okay. That's been the theme of my week, by the way. A lot of telling myself it's okay. So my last actual stitching for the week, it's Mirabilia's Autumn Queen. I'm still working down in the bottom here. So here's what she was last time. And here we are today. So I probably should have brought my board over because this one's actually big enough to make her hard to hold up. But I thought I was going to work in the purples. I didn't touch them one iota. What I did is I actually came over here and started just filling down. So I'm happy to get this done. We're working in here, so more completely filled. I'm now within 35 stitches at the bottom, so goes roughly 2 more inches down, which is, I don't know, it's kind of nice as you can see the line of the pattern. It's kind of converging this way. It's going to do the same thing this way. So as I'm going further down, each section's getting narrower, so it's I don't know, it's just kind of motivating for me to get there. And I didn't think I was gonna spend as much time this week on this one as I did, but once I picked her up, I was enjoying seeing the progress. So I actually had to put her down to get back to Winter Queen because I hadn't gotten as far as I wanted on Winter Queen. I have been taking the time to kind of pay attention to the lengths of thread I use, so they're about 18 inches long, and how many stitches do I get out of each length? And the answer is roughly 41 to 44. I haven't done like a median, I probably should, but for purposes of guesstimating how much I've been doing, I'm going to assume that it's about 40 per. So when I pull off a whole length, we're looking at about 100 lengths. So in this case, we'll just use a, let's say I pull off a length of 33.71, and it's obviously 6-stranded floss. It's 2/2 for this case. So if I use the entire thing, it's roughly 120 stitches. And I haven't quite got to the idea of using stitch counting to create goals for myself, but I just started kind of paying attention as I was rolling through each of these, that around the 500 stitch mark, no matter how excited I am about a project, it's like I get bored of the palette and it's time to change. So it worked out pretty well though, because that means that I got more done this week than I initially hoped, because honestly I didn't feel like I got as much stitching progress last week as I would have liked. So to kind of pay attention to what is working for me and what isn't, I don't want to use it yet to create goals. I might look at that again in April, but for now it's just a, hey, I don't get bored of a project after like 3 days. I can spend 3 days and be like, oh, I'm still excited about it, but I can do 500 stitches in a day and be like, okay, it's time to put this one down and go to the next one. I think it's because of the change in palettes between all the projects. It really helps because none of these quite overlap. There's a couple colors that are used in multiple projects, but on the whole, they each have their own very distinct feel. And each, when I pick one up, because I don't actually start the beginning of the day knowing which one I'm going to start with, and generally when I pick one up for the day, that's the one I'm going to work with on that day. But I'm kind of going with the what is appealing to me on a day. And then towards the end of my week, which in terms of this runs Tuesday to Tuesday, I'll pick up the one on Tuesday morning or Monday night that hadn't gotten quite as much love during the week and spend a little more time on it. So, by the way, that means for this next week, all 4 of these projects are still going to be getting worked on, so I probably won't get as much done on them as I might like, but that's because, oh yes, I have yet another new start. I probably should stop planning these starts. I have found the first day that I actually sit down and work on a project, I don't get as much done as I think I'm going to. I always think that it's going to be like this burst out of the starting gate. No, I realize I don't tend to pre-stage my thread very well. So I'm trying to decide where do I want to go in the pattern, whereas once you actually start working, like with Autumn Queen, I know roughly where I'm going to go next. I have a plan, but when I'm first staring at the project going, okay, I'm starting at the center, you can go any number of directions and not know where you're going next. So all 4 of those. This Friday is the Feast of the Annunciation, so I am going to be starting my definite new start. I'm only going to give it 1 day, so whatever I don't work on Friday, it's not happening. That is from Modern Folk Embroidery, and it's, I know the picture should, it's all this white is, I'm going to be doing it in this color blue on the most not novel fabric in existence, literally white Belfast. That's okay. This is going to be on a 36 count, which that'll be just kind of fun because it makes it a little smaller. The finished design is going to be 10 inches by 12 inches, so I don't know if it'll be a little smaller, but I don't even know what am I going to do? Am I going to do am I going to do Mary first? Am I going to do Gabriel first? I feel very awkward using first names like that, but anyway, I haven't actually decided because I haven't opened up, so I'll look at it on the 25th and make it kind of an impulsive decision at that point, so I don't expect to put a lot into it, and like I said, whatever I do on Friday, that's what I'm going to get done, and then I won't touch it again until sometime in April, because again, it's Mirabilia March. I have, say, tentative plans my last new Mirabilia start for the month is going to be Lady of the Mist. And I don't know if I'm going to start this one this week or next week. Probably thinking this weekend-ish. This one has a lot of ish. I hadn't actually really penciled in a good week because since I also had the other new start. I don't know if 2 new starts in a week is a good idea or a bad idea. When I first came up with this plan, I really thought maybe it'll be a good idea. Today I'm kind of going, oh, I mean, I've already done 3 new starts for the month. They've all been fantastic. I'm really glad I started them, but at number 4, I planned back in February, so that one makes sense to me. I'm like, is 5 too much? And I have 2 that I'm starting in April, so actually 3. 3 projects I'm planning on starting in April, so I don't know if this is too much or the right amount. I don't know. This is something I gotta make a decision about. And I'm not gonna make that decision right here. So this one you might see progress on next week, or I might next week say, oh, this is gonna be a last new start. I will start, okay, actually, I sound like I'm wobbling a lot on it. I will start it in March, if nothing else, just to justify that it is started. But I suspect it will get roughly 200 to 300, or 250 to 300 stitches in total. I'll say that's good. Like, I'm pretty positive on that. I do have the linen for it, so this is a 32 count raw, so it's a very natural looking. It is the same color that I'm using for Stargazer, just in a 32 count instead of a 28 count. So, now I mentioned I did impulse. I was literally shopping for food for my husband and my son to go camping. So, and walking from camping supplies over to the grocery section at Walmart, I walked right past the really, really sad little craft section. We won't talk about how sad Walmart sometimes makes me, but I saw this on the shelf and it was $5, and so I totally bought it. It's an impulse. So this is it's a Leisure Arts kit. It's called Blush Roses. It's kind of supposed to be everything about how to embroider. I want to say how to embroider. Everything in it is to create, theoretically, this piece with directions. Includes a hoop that is the quality on it's awful. Plus the fabric, all the floss. The floss is nice. I was surprised by that. It's like 6 colors. So there is a brown that you can barely see in here, the dark green, this sage green, like a medium sage green. They call this Merlot, blush, and then cream. So it's not a huge, but I've had kits where I've been worried about whether or not I'm going to be able to make it to the end, and then this one had, honestly, so much floss that I am not worried about whether or not I'm going to have enough to get it done. I do not love the needle they included with it in terms of getting it through the fabric with the amount of floss that's called for. So all of this is kind of, and it's for getting done in a weekend. By the way, I haven't gotten it done in a weekend. I've tinkered with it for a couple hours and realized that if I followed the directions, I was going to be a very unhappy camper. So I'll show you what I have done so far. And going, I know nothing about embroidering. Like, I cross stitch. Embroidery, what's that? I don't know. I got a book for Christmas. It's actually like really extensive how to embroider. It's really cool. Like, I love looking at the pictures in it and saying there's no way I can do it. But anyway, so this is what I have so far. And all of these leaves, they expect you to do with 6 strands of floss in your needle through this fabric. I have a thimble around this house somewhere. I didn't feel like going and digging it out. So I was getting very frustrated, and like these leaves, the coverage is only mediocre. Like, it's a lot of floss, but the coverage doesn't really look like a leaf. So I decided that, which I didn't mind for these, but these were bigger and it kind of hurt. And I was like, you know, let's make this look more like a leaf. So I pulled out, like I said, my book about embroidery techniques, and I mean, so far this is nothing but satin stitching, but I went ahead and halved it, so I'm now using 3 strands of floss, but I'm going much tighter, so there's way more actual stitching involved, hence why these took an insane amount of time compared to this. But I'm happier with the embroidery here compared to this. So it's probably worth it. And it's 3 sets of 3 leaves here. I've obviously done the 1 set. And the thing I learned from my book is that you want to kind of do all your background stuff, because these are, it's basically it's like a spoking or like weaving a whole floss around to make a flower effect. But you want those to move forward, and then it's filled in with a bunch of French knots. And so I'm doing the leaves first. I actually want to make all the pretty flowers. But that's how it goes. The other thing that I was surprised about as well is these lines, how thick they are. So I can still kind of see the vestiges of them, even though I'm doing my best to try to stitch all the way over it. I don't know how people who actually do embroidery like do this for reals. If they use like a really thin like pencil or transferring. I don't know. Again, this was an impulse buy. I don't know what possessed me to do it, but it is kind of cool because it's a little more freeform than following a cross stitch pattern, but it's like I'm not having to I do not have the creativity to come up with an actual design like this, so it is kind of cool to be able to have someone point me in the right direction. To be fair, I've also been looking at a bunch of these on Etsy and have been very good at not buying them, so I figure if I do an impulse, try the impulse buy at Walmart, see if I even enjoy making these little things, because in the end it's supposed to just do this and put it on your wall somewhere. I don't know where I'm gonna put it, so I haven't figured out how I'm gonna finish it. Like, that's, I don't know what I was thinking. So I hope to have this done next week. If nothing else, it'll be nice and colorful, but again, I say I hope to have it done, but I have only so much stitching time to work with, and right now I have a lot of projects. And because of my self-imposed Mirabilia March, it means I'm actually going to work on all of the ones that I've told myself I can't work on. Like, really, really want to try it. So, like I said, I did justify this. It's not cross stitch. But like I said, do I need more projects? No. Actually, my daughter, that was really interested in this. Cross stitch, she gets a little bored with trying to follow the pattern. Like, she loves the colors, but she is a little more freeform than I am. So I'm thinking that she looked at this and said, "Oh, that looks kind of cool." But I didn't want to just hand her the kit and be like, "Here, try it," because again, I at least know the things that frustrate me. Said the amount of floss that's really hard to get through the fabric, and the neat, like, I guess that's one thing why I don't always love kits, is sometimes I feel like you can get really great results out of them if you know how to work around it. But if you just say, "Oh, I don't know how to do a craft and I'm gonna kind of learn by trying this," sometimes it doesn't work as well as you'd hope. No. Anyway, thank you so much for stopping by, and I will be back next week with more stitchy goodness. I hope that you have a great week in any of the crafting that you do, and see you next time. Bye.